Hi, welcome. I'm Katy Wallace with Human Nature. I'm talking today about tips for gut diversity. I'll be covering tips 9 through 12. Tip number 9 is to eat less sugar. So the problem with sugar and the gut bacteria is that it seems to promote the bad bacteria that like to promote inflammation. So if you've got a sweet tooth and you're worried about your health, you got a little bit of work to do to change your habits, to cut out sugar. And by that, I mean refined sugars, sugars like cane sugar, and things like it, high sugar foods overall. What happens when someone is eating too much sugar in their diet that's not found in a high fiber food like an onion or a garlic, is that the sugar decreases the population of the good bacteria, and the sugar actually causes the gut lining to break down. So if you've seen my webinar about leaky gut, you know about all the different problems that can stem from breaking down the gut lining. If you haven't seen my webinar on leaky gut, it's on my website. I encourage you to check it out. Sugar also increases the unhealthy microbes in the gut that lead to in the perpetuation of inflammation, and signaling, which can lead to chronic health problems. I've written a book about how to revamp your diet. A lot of people looking to eliminate sugar from their diet and upgrade their diet are attracted to the book. It's called The Body Tune-Up. You can get it on my website, humannaturellc.com. I published it last year, and it's basically, I've been practicing almost 20 years, so it's kind of a summary of a particular process that I've used as a part of my practice for almost that many years. And it talks about how to eat specifically, how to support gut health, as you're changing your diet. So it's in many ways like an elimination diet where you are in ketosis in the beginning, and focused on eating a lot of the beneficial foods for gut bacteria. And then as you go, you slowly reincorporate other foods. So it's very helpful for reducing inflammation, improving gut health, helping with blood sugar control, helping with detoxification. So check it out. Tip number 10 is reduce stress. And I recognize that's easier said than done, but I think if you're interested in improving your gut health, it's worth talking about this piece. Scientists have demonstrated that the more stress we have, the more our gut health suffers. And so because when we're under a lot of stress, our production of the stress hormone cortisol increases, we have a net result of the gut lining thinning, which is not good for our health, for our digestion, absorption of nutrition, fending off infections, reducing autoimmunity and cancer. Um, and stress also increases the gut permeability and sets in motion inflammation that doesn't resolve itself. And so that's very disruptive to the good bacteria that are trying to make, and carry on this microbiome that's doing a lot of good things for you in your gut. So think about ways that you can create time for stress relief. Maybe it's a daily mindfulness practice, a daily activity, exercise, something that helps you with stress relief is very important and does translate to gut benefits. Tip number 11 is to exercise regularly. It does appear that people doing different exercises can make a change to their gut biome just by changing the level of exercise. And researchers also go so far as to say that the number of times per week that you're exercising and the duration of your exercising influence the diversity. So people that were exercising more days per week and for longer got a benefit for their microbiome. And I would also say that the type of exercise will be important for some individuals, especially as they're aging. For example, just to look at women, we know that women who are perimenopausal and menopausal tend to make more cortisol more easily as we age. So that's not great, but remember I said cortisol is a stress hormone. And there's certain type of exercises that induce a higher production of cortisol as well. So if you're already in a population or you yourself know that your cortisol is a little dysregulated and you have some issues with cortisol, and then you're doing a lot of extensive cardiovascular exercise like running or some other kind of cardio, it's forcing your body to make even more cortisol after the exercise. So for some people, this can contribute to a lot of health issues for them. So I'm a big proponent of doing exercises based on the individual. I'm also a proponent of strength training for women that are and men that could be in a population where they're more susceptible to cortisol issues, because you don't want to be putting all this energy into exercising and then having it actually take away from your health. So it's good to do more exercise and exercise for longer for sure. You want to be working on building muscle and get all the aerobic benefits, but sometimes you have to be a little bit savvy about what type of exercise are you doing, if you don't want to make cortisol dysregulation worse and thus work against a healthy gut. Tip number 12 is get enough sleep. And this is the last tip I'm going to talk about. So, when we don't sleep enough, we actually get hungrier. We make hormones that make us hungrier. And so that's not great for making good food choices because if you're hungrier, you're going to be more likely to make an impulsive food choice rather than a choice that's thoughtful and healthy or healthiest for your body. So it's good to get a lot of sleep from that perspective because if you aren't sleeping and you're eating a lot of sugar in response to this hormone signaling, then that's going to be bad for the gut biome, for example. Lack of sleep also increases the production of cortisol, which is another hormone resulting from lack of sleep, which we know thins the gut lining and leads to more unhealthy gut bacteria too. And so these different things can be measured when I work with people one-on-one in my private practice at Human Nature. I do have the ability to help you get tested for cortisol levels or hormone levels if that's something you need to look at, or to just outline, what's the best way to eat to get a cortisol issue under control. And so if you want a little teaser on that, check out my recent video on the importance of protein, because if you're eating adequate protein, it very much goes a long way to stabilizing cortisol. So in summary, tip number 1 was get enough sunlight. You live in a place like Wisconsin, that's going to be hard to do. So you're going to need to use a therapeutic light to optimize those vitamin D levels that translate to the best gut diversity and gut health. Tip number 2 is reduce the electric and magnetic field exposure. So be more mindful about turning your phone and your screens off or even your Wi-Fi router off when you're not using it. Using things like sauna or other heat therapies that can help your body and your gut bacteria recover from the EMF exposure. Tip number 3 is eat a little bit of cruciferous vegetables daily. So remember to try to eat just a little bit of radish or a little bit of broccoli, a little bit of cauliflower with dinner. That'll go a long way. Tip number 4 was eat seasonally. So try to rotate and eat a variety. I think we don't really know if it's important to specifically eat seasonally or if it's just important to like have a very good variety. But the studies of the indigenous people seem to imply that, at least historically, that seasonality is what helped with developing a more diverse gut biome. Tip number 5 is eat high levels of polyphenols. So remember, that was like spices and cocoa and berries and other foods, teas. Tip number 6 is to fast every night between your dinner and your breakfast. Don't have anything except water, or maybe some other beverage, but really limiting the amount of food that you are supplying in your gut so that your gut bacteria have a chance to repopulate and promote those butyrate producing species that give so much benefit. Tip number 7 was eat fermented foods containing the live microbes. So particularly the lacto-fermented foods so that you get the lactic acid support in the digestion, which promotes more bacteria to live there, which then will promote healthy regularity in digestion. Tip number 8 is try to eat foods that are high in the prebiotic fibers or sugars like onions and garlic. Number 9, eat less sugar. Specifically, I mean like sugar cane or corn syrup and different foods very high in simple sugars without the fibers. Number 10, reduce stress. You need to reduce stress to have a healthy gut lining and to keep cortisol levels in check and keep inflammation under control. You need to get enough sleep. I'm jumping ahead to tip 12 because that's how our body helps kind of keep all our hormone levels in check. And then also exercising regularly, because we do see many net benefits from those who exercise, including more diverse gut biota. So I wanted to spend just a minute here at the end talking about some tests that I offer that can help with gut flora. Obviously, I just gave you a lot of ideas of things that are very accessible that help improve gut diversity. Sometimes people have the resources or the driving need or both to go a little further than that, and they want to test their levels. They want to know what's going on in their gut biome and make interventions and then test it to make sure that it's been successful. So that's one of the things that I do with people one-on-one. I review their blood chemistry and make sure that things are optimized, kind of going a whole nother level beyond whether or not it's medically normal. Is your physiology really optimized, and what can you do? And then the GI map stool test is my favorite gut health test for describing the beneficial gut flora. It also identifies if there's dysbiotic species which promote autoimmunity and different health problems, and tells me, I mean, the report that you get from doing such a stool test is several pages long. So it's very comprehensive. I always find the information is really relevant. It is costly though, it's over $500. So it's definitely not for everybody. But I thought I would mention it here because some people will be interested in how do I know if I have good gut bacteria or if that's an issue? And I would say this test is really good at telling us which species do you have? Do you have enough of that? So there's those two pieces about volume and having different strains. Or do I have a population of unhealthy bacteria that needs to be addressed so that I can get the good bacteria in? You know, some people are, maybe some of you even listening today, are going to have a lot of sensitivities in your gut due to the stress to the gut over time. Maybe you can't even eat onions and garlic, or maybe you can't eat some of the fermented foods because you have histamine issues. And so sometimes doing this deep investigative work with the GI map is really helpful to identify what exactly is going on in the gut. You know, why is there a diagnosis for a new autoimmune disease? Is there something relevant in the gut that will help us, you know, help the person reduce inflammation and get better, and possibly even have a remission of their autoimmunity? So that's a sort of thing that I do with people. Also happy to meet with people one-on-one and you know, without the fancy testing, and give you some real practical tips to get some good results. This is what one of the sections of the GI map report looks like. So these are all the good bacteria that they test. So different keystone species, they call them. Keystone species make up the foundation of a healthy gut microbiome. And so you'll see, do I have too much? Do I have too little? Overall, how am I doing on the Bacteroidetes and the Firmicutes, these different species? What sort of things do I need to be eating? Or what sort of things do I need to be doing to promote digestive health? All right, so that's all I have today. Thanks for listening. Just a reminder, I'll be talking in a couple weeks about balancing blood pressure, so I hope you'll join me for that. If you're interested in meeting with me one-on-one through the co-op, here's how to contact me. Of course, I do see people privately and go into a little more depth in the longer sessions privately as well. So thank you so much.